The Sigourney Savages are proudly brought to you by Packwood Locker of Packwood, Iowa, Hinshaw Trailer Sales of Richland, Iowa, and Smithburg Auto of Fairfield, Iowa, as well as the Cedar Rapids Titans Arena football team, which you can hear a week from Sunday, February 15th, as they take on the Midwest Monsters in their opening game. All the games will be on Round Guy Radio YouTube channel. We got Coach Eslick of the Sigourney Savages. Welcome to the program, Coach.
Thanks for having me, Dave. Appreciate it.
Well, I didn't get to see your team as much as I would have liked to. We did get one video, the JV against Waco, and a tremendous job. Your JV does a great job, and we'll have a little news on that here before this episode's over. But I really enjoyed watching the game last night. It seemed like the only game kind of on last night. You played Moravia, which is a very good team. They're good. They're just a school that, we see on the periphery quite a bit, and they're always very challenging. And they did give you a pretty good run in the first half, but you come out of this with a record-breaking night. Can you tell our listeners about who you played and what the score was?
Yeah, it was. Like you said, you said it well. It was a really solid Moravia team, a team that has got a lot of talent, and it was a really competitive game in that first half. They made a lot of shots and really exploited some of things that we did poor defensively in that first half. And luckily, we were making shots too last night. And yeah, you said it was a record-setting night for Solon Yates. He set our school record for most three-pointers in one game with 9 last night. He had tied it earlier in the year at 8, and now he's got it all by himself at 9. So great night for Solon, and a great night from his teammates finding him when he was open and getting him the ball in good spots, and then he was able to knock him down. So, we needed about every one of them, especially in that first half. I think it was tied 33-33 late in the second quarter, and then we went on a little run there to go up by 7 at that half, and then it seemed like every time we were kind of ready to widen it out and finish them off, they'd make a run right back at us. So, credit to them. And then finally, in that fourth quarter, we were able to finally shake them at the end and end up winning. I think the final was 76-59. So a little deceiving score. Certainly was a more competitive game than a 17-point game for sure.
Well, this was your last home game. I don't know. You got a road game or two left. What do you got left on the slate?
Yeah, we do. We have 2 road games next week. We have our final conference game on Monday night. We go to North Mahaska on Monday, and then on Tuesday night we head down to Centerville for our final regular season game, and then we'll play our first postseason game on the following Monday, the 16th, on President's Day. So,
well, I see some brackets out. It looks like girls brackets out. When will you guys? I know it's before the end of the season. They put the postseason out. What's the time frame on that? When are we going to see the postseason brackets, and you guys know who you're going to play?
Yeah, the state actually just sent us a message this morning letting us know that the pairings would be released either Monday in the afternoon or Tuesday in the morning at the latest. So sometime early next week we'll figure out who we play in that first round, and then we'll have about a week to prepare for whoever we draw for that first game.
Well, let's go back to this Moravia game and kick around a little bit of. Give me some of the stats. I don't know how many 2-pointers Solon shot, but he hits 9 3-pointers. I think that's 18 points there all by itself.
Yeah, he actually didn't have any 2s last night. So he had 27 points last night on 9 threes, and he was really hot, and then really a great effort from John Burke last night. John sprained his ankle pretty good on Friday night against Keota. Wasn't able to finish that game. He hurt it in the third quarter, and then talking to him after, he went to the hospital and got X-rays because they were a little bit afraid that he had broken it, and talked to him after, and he said, well, the good news is it's not broke, but he said it's a bad one, and so I don't know when I'll be back or if I'll be back by the regular season. And he worked really hard rehabbing this last week, and in 6 days able to get back and play. He probably played 20 plus minutes last night for us, and if you wouldn't have known he had a sprained ankle, you probably wouldn't have been able to tell by watching him. So just proud of the effort he had. I think he had a double-double despite probably not being 100%. And then I think Braden was really come on strong for us. He's been chipping in somewhere between 10 and 20 points. It seems like every night, and that's kind of what we need out of him. And good defense and good rebounding, and those three seniors have carried us all year, and it's kind of what you want out of your seniors is kids who are going to put yourself in position to win night in and night out.
Well, Solon Yates, I think he set that record on Round Guy Radio in a game against Centerville, or I think it was Centerville, maybe it was Cardinal. I can't remember last year where he got the 8 3-pointers. Unless it was that when he did it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think he actually has tied it twice. He tied it. I think you're right. I think he did tie it last year against Cardinal, and then he tied it this year against Highland as well. So he's been really close, and the problem was in a few of those games he didn't get to play very much in the fourth quarter because both of those nights were nights we were comfortably ahead. But last night was a game all the way, and so he got to play the full 30 some minutes of the game and got a lot of opportunities. So yeah, he's flirted with the record by himself, and finally was able to do it last night.
Well, he's a particularly good athlete, and I don't know that I've done a good enough job kind of sounding off about him, but let's try to make up for some of that a little bit. Tell me about he seems like a quality young man. I know he's a terrific golfer. He's a baseball player. I don't know if he plays football or not, but what kind of athlete is he for the Sigourney Savages?
Yeah, I mean, and all of our kids, they're all, multi-sport athletes. I mean, you look at, our kids that are in the mix, there's not a single one of them that is just a basketball player. And they're all, baseball team's had a ton of success. Golf team made the state last year. Football team, obviously, with Sigourney Kyoto football is something that, these kids take a lot of pride in, and they're doing everything. And so, obviously, Solon, he's going to go play golf next year. That's kind of his number one thing. But, he's worked incredibly hard at basketball, and he's in the gym all summer. And, I always laugh because those are the two places that I'm most in the summer too, is in the gym and on the golf course. And so I see him a lot, and he's a heck of a lot better golfer than me. And he's shooting the ball at a pretty elite level right now too.
Yeah, well, he's a great player. He's really tall, and lanky and athletic, and has a big wingspan. And I know he's built for basketball, but he is terrific at golf, especially in Oskaloosa. For some reason, that course there in Oskaloosa, he just totally dominates. They won back-to-back championships in that course there. Well, was there anybody else in that game offensively or somebody else made a record? It seemed like.
Yeah, I talked about John a little bit, just another double double for him. But really, I thought our entire team played well. It was nice to see at Hunter Sellers get back last night. He had been out for.
He was terrific. He was terrific in that game.
The Unfortunately, the flu bug has hit us really hard here this week. Really in the last week plus, we've had multiple kids down, and I think it got Hunter the worst of anybody. And just nice to have him back, because he had missed 3 games in a row with the flu, and we were just hoping he'd get back and get healthy. And so we kind of eased him in last night, and we're able to get some good minutes out of him, and Landon Fish, he had the flu real bad too, and it was good to have him back, so yeah, it's good to be healthy and get everyone kind of back in the mix, and kind of have our full roster for the first time in over a week, to have everybody back. So that was important, and hopefully we're through the worst of the illness and injuries and all that stuff, and we can be at full go for the tournament coming up here in a couple weeks.
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about the season and how hard it is to get through that. I know Pekin School had a virtual day of learning today because there's so much. Teachers have the flu, kids have the flu. We've seen a lot of basketball games canceled because of the flu, JV games that couldn't be played because the rosters are smaller. There's only maybe 2 teams in the whole state in any level that's still undefeated. Basketball seems like an undefeated season seems like a long shot in basketball because of the flu, because of the travel, because of the turned ankles and all that stuff. But it looks like to me you've only lost 4 games this whole year. Is that right?
That is correct. Yeah, we're currently 15-4 with 2 regular season games left, and 2 of those losses were to one of the very few undefeated teams left in the state, Linville Sully, who's an excellent team. But yeah, I mean, like you said, with the basketball season is a grind, and you have to have depth, and we're fortunate that we do, and we could withstand a couple of kids out with injuries and illness, and so that's kind of, you got to try to create as much depth as possible. And Coach Trammell and the JV's done a great job of doing that for us, and having kids down there at that level that are ready to step up and play at the varsity level when we have kids go down or just need a blow. But and the problem is, and this could be a lot longer conversation than we probably have time for, but just the way that the schedule works, you're cramming so many games into a short period of time because you don't play over Christmas, and you got Thanksgiving in there, and so there is. It is a challenge. I mean, like last week we played 4 games. Multiple teams have done that where they're playing 4 games in 5 days, or
back-to-back
and
games, and
back-to-backs,
uh,
and it's not really very conducive to being your best every night, and just you got to find ways to get through the nights where you're not playing well. Because I mean, when you play 21 games, you're not going to play great every night, and find a way to get through those nights and still win games is important, and the best teams can do that. And teams like Linville Sully, who are undefeated, tip the cap to them because they've found a way to do that, and they have a ton of really good depth too, and that's certainly not a coincidence. That's why they're still undefeated.
basketball, you got to have that depth, and you do have depth. I covered your JV team last year several times, and they were incredible, just dominant, and I was excited. I've been, you and I've been talking about games, and it never seemed to work out good, but we did get the Waco game the JV game there, and I was surprised that I didn't recognize one person's name on the JV from last year, but the results were the same. You totally dominated, and because of that, we've had to come up with a new award here of the JV Coach of the Year, and Coach Trammell definitely gets that. Let him know all of us here at Round Guy Radio see what he's doing and appreciate what he's doing, and we dealt pretty hard into JV stuff this year, so I definitely see a lot of teams. What is the secret to his success? Why is he such a successful coach?
Yeah, well, Coach Trammell was thrilled when I informed him of his inaugural JV Coach of the Year status last night before the game. He was pretty pumped. He thought maybe there'd be some bacon involved, but 100% sure on that aspect of it. But but to be serious, he does a terrific job. I know I said this at the beginning of the year, and he's incredibly overqualified to be a JV coach. He's coached at the varsity level. He's coached teams to the state tournament, and he's coached a lot of these kids that you're talking about. This our sophomore group, which his son Jordan is a big part of, and has had a great year for us. Jordan's one of the ones that's probably come on the most strong here in the last month of the season of anybody, and one of the reasons why we've won 9 of our last 10 games. But he's worked with these kids from second, third grade on, and just he's put the time in with them, and that's what it takes. And he really knows what he's doing. He knows how to get the best out of these kids. And yeah, I mean, this JV team, in the last 2 years has lost 1 game. That's pretty impressive to do. Probably 40 some wins and 1 loss. So yeah, he's very deserving of that, and a great coach, and does a great job with with helping us at the varsity level too. He JV coaches, not just Zach, but all of them have the toughest job of anybody in this whole thing, because they're coaching a JV game at 6 o'clock, and then they're coaching a varsity game at 7:30, and they're in the gym every night, and they're working with 2 teams really. So a ton of respect for all the JV coaches, and obviously, yeah, I mean, I agree with you. There's no one better in our area and probably in the whole state as a JV coach than Coach Trammell. So he's a big part of the success that we've had at all levels these last couple of years.
Well, the reason he forced me to create this award is, watching it with completely different players do the exact same thing. The rebounding was exactly the same. The passing was exactly the same. The inside shooting was exactly the same. The outside shooting was exactly the same. So obviously, you got to have talent. I mean, you can be a great, great coach and not have talent, and you're not going to, get a great record. But he must have some kind of a good system, because he can take these young players and put them in a position to win. And we're really, really proud of him. And I want him to know that I see what he's doing out there. And there's a lot of great coaches. And I think this JV sports in particular is something I'm very interested in. And heck, it's where we create viewers that are, parents of freshmen, because I'm not sure those seniors are going to be listening next year. But we're trying to get people listening to us earlier, and they surely did a great job. I would have tried to get in that game last night, but you didn't have one. But he's doing a great job. You're doing a great job over there. You got a great record this year. Where do you think the playoff thing's going to fall out for you? You got any kind of an idea?
Yeah, that's a great question. Short answer, no, I don't. But we've been kicking around the possibilities for the last week or two, and I mean, the biggest thing is that now with the way that they're doing it, the first 3 games you have a possibility of playing them at home, and that's a huge
Oh,
advantage.
well,
So
that'd be great.
you're just trying to get yourself as many games in your own gym as you can, and most of the brackets are 9 teams. So there'll be games on Friday night between the 8 and the 9 seeds, kind of that playing game to get into the actual bracket, and we will not be a part of that. So we'll play Monday night, and the top 4 seeds, 1 through 4, will all host those games, and we're pretty confident we'll be one of those top 4 seeds in the district. So we'll host that first one, and then you'd love to be a 2 seed for us. I don't think that, unfortunately, with a couple of the losses we have, we will almost certainly not be a 1 seed, but we're maybe holding out a small hope that we can slide into a 2 seed and get two games at home to start the postseason. But a lot of good teams in our area, Burlington, Notre Dame. I'm sure you've seen them, and
Yeah, I've seen
uh,
them. Woo!
they're very talented, probably the most talented team in Southeast Iowa. And then Linville Sully, you go a little bit further back towards Des Moines, as we mentioned, they're undefeated. They'll be a 1 seed. Then there's a lot of teams that are kind of in the mix in our area. Pekin obviously has had a great year. Montezuma
Really?
has had a great year. Hillcrest has had a great year. So those are teams that are kind of in the mix for those 1-2 seeds as well. And then there's a lot of good teams in Northeast Iowa, and so it kind of the state gets kind of creative sometimes on how they're gonna shift teams and send them to other areas. So it's really impossible to predict, but we're hoping that we can be one of those top 2 seeds, and probably a possibility, but we'll just have to see on Monday or Tuesday how it shakes out.
Well, you got a game, or the sickle has changed a little bit. I think it's all just in one instead of having a east and west or north or south or however they did it last year. What's the difference in the sickle, and where are you sitting at in the sickle?
Yeah, it is. We it all started when Tri County and HLV went together. They joined forces in all sports, and we did at one point have two divisions in the sickle. So we had an East and a West, and each division had 6 teams. And when they joined, one went to 6 and one went to 5. And the athletic directors kind of decided that doesn't make a lot of sense to have uneven conference divisions, I guess you'd say. And so they decided, oh, we're going to go back to just everybody together in one. Well, when you got 11 teams, that's 10 other teams you got to play. So now you got to decide: do you want to play everybody once, or do you want to play everybody twice, or do you want to have kind of a mix between? And we went with the mix between. So you play. I think we played 6 teams twice this year, and then we played 4 teams just once. So you still played the 16 conference games that we have before, and so it's uneven. So there's some teams you play twice. Like we played Linville Sully twice, who was first, but then we only played Montezuma, who was second, once. So Linville Sully is going to win the conference. So they're undefeated. They've got, I think, 2 conference games left, but they've already got it wrapped up. Montezuma will almost certainly finish second. They lost to Linville Sully, and then they lost to Kyoto last week. And then we have the 3 losses in the conference, with 2 losses to Sully and then the 1 to Montezuma. So we'll finish third is how it's going to shake out. So it was a very competitive year for our league, especially in the middle. A lot of parity in the middle of our league, and it was certainly be fun to see how all these teams do when we get together in the tournament.
All right. Well, the season's not clear over, but it's pretty close. Can you tell me a little bit about maybe some of the scoring leaders, rebounding leaders, assist leaders for the season?
Yeah, right now, John Burke leads us in both points and rebounds for the year. He's had another phenomenal season as John, and just a very consistent kid night in, night out. And think he's averaging, last check when I looked, I think he was at a little over 16 points per game. And then Solon, who we've talked a lot about, is second. I think he's around 13 points a night. And then Braden Wood, right around 10 for us, is our third leading scorer. And then assists, Ike Molnex, who we haven't talked much about Ike, but, he got hurt right at the end of football, and what a tough kid. Not many kids probably would have been playing as soon as he was, but he's another kid that attacked that rehab really hard and got back and was playing at much less than 100% pre-Christmas break. But credit to him, he just kept plugging away, and then that Christmas break was really nice for him. We had a full week off of not doing anything, and then we had another week of just practice, and he really got healthy over that time. So getting him back to full swing here, I think he's getting really close to 100%. He's really played well. He played phenomenal against Kyoto last Friday night in a big win for us, and probably the best game I've ever seen him play. And he's really getting back to that full strength. So he's our leader in assists, and then we've got I think John leads us in blocks, and I think Ike's leading us in steals as well. So a lot of those similar names up there at the top.
Well, you can tell Coach Trammell, like, I don't think I can get him any bacon. I can give him 2 tickets to the Cedar Rapids Titans game of his choice. There'll be 5 games this year, and he'll just have to go to the will call, and I'll leave a couple tickets for him. Just let me know when he's coming up, and we'll put his name on there. And terrific job. And you did a terrific job. As far as I'm concerned, you're the sickle coach of the year. Although I only covered 2 teams there, but we did pick out a coach of each team. But I thought you did a really great. This might have been the best job of coaching I think you've done in the last 4 or 5 years.
Oh, I appreciate that. It's easy when you got the kind of kids we've got to work with. Obviously, great kids and kids that are really committed. And it's been a fun season, and it's kind of getting into the really fun part here, where you get into the tournament, and this team's really got a chance to make a run. So you take it one game at a time, and hopefully we can be playing deep into February and maybe even into March.
And we'll get you a couple tickets too there. And there's one of your players. I'll have to go back and look who was the player of the game at that sophomore one. He also gets a couple tickets. Thank you so much for being with us. I'll say this: there are several NFL experienced players on the Titans, and I'll be making some big announcements about that too. So,
All right.
thank you so much for being with us. And I don't have any other questions for you. If you got anything else you want to talk about that we didn't get a chance to talk about.
No, I'll be good. It's always good talking to you, and we'll try to catch up here again as we get ready for the playoffs.
All right. Thank you very much.